Soldiers of the Wagner mercenary group who were detained after participating in the recent mutiny have been released. Remember, the Wagner group led by their chief Yevgeny Prigozhin revolted against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Some of the troops were captured by Russian forces, while some turned themselves in after the botched mutiny. Now they have been freed. They've also been cleared by the Russian Defense Ministry to go fight in Ukraine if they choose. Meanwhile, Russians are flocking to buy merchandise of the Wagner Group. Prices of Wagner shirts and souvenirs have shot up due to the high demand, despite the failed mutiny. Customers said they were doing their part of showing support for the valor of Wagner soldiers. Russian President Putin was all praises for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Putin called India a big friend of Russia. He also admired India's Make in India initiative. Putin added that Russia will work towards emulating India's Make in India program. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that NATO membership for Ukraine will come very, very soon. This was during his address to a council of think tanks based in the UK and Europe. Zelensky also expressed that he was confident of Ukraine's acceptance to the European Union. Major cities in France witnessed riots for the third straight night. This was over the fatal shooting of a teenager by a police officer. Protesters torched cars and flung fireworks at the police. At least 600 protesters were detained. President Emmanuel Macron held a crisis meeting to take stock of the situation. Meanwhile, the mother of the teen who was killed took to the streets of Paris. She was joined by thousands of supporters. She led the tribute march wearing a t-shirt that read, "Justice for Nahil." Meanwhile, the officer who shot the teen is being investigated on homicide charges. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan slammed Sweden for allowing the burning of the Quran. On Thursday, people desecrated and burnt the Islamic holy book outside a mosque in Sweden's capital, Stockholm. This was after the Swedish government allowed the act as freedom of speech. Erdogan said that his government would take strong actions against Sweden. He said, "We will teach the arrogant Western people a lesson." The Quran burning in Sweden has drawn a backlash from other Islamic countries as well. Protesters in Iraq gathered outside the Swedish embassy in the capital city Baghdad. Demonstrators chanted, "Yes to the Quran." The International Monetary Fund has given an initial nod for a $3 billion loan for Pakistan. The much-awaited decision comes as the South Asian nation is on the brink of defaulting on its previous loans. However, a final approval is yet to be given by the IMF board. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he has dropped a contentious part of his government's judicial overhaul plan. Netanyahu said he was no longer seeking authority for the parliament to overturn Supreme Court rulings. He added that other contentious parts would be changed but not scrapped. The change in Netanyahu's stance comes after months of protests against the proposed judicial overhaul. Protests in Israel against Netanyahu's government have been ongoing since March. The UK's Interior Minister, Suella Braverman, called a court's decision blocking the government's plan to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda disappointing. She further said that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's administration would adhere to the court's ruling. The ruling comes as a major setback to the Sunak government. Sunak has been facing increased pressure from his supporters to handle the influx of asylum seekers into the UK. The Supreme Court of the US has struck down affirmative action in college admissions. President Joe Biden has expressed his disappointment over the decision. Biden criticized the Supreme Court panel. He said, "This is not a normal court." Under the affirmative action policy, seats were reserved for racial groups during admission in American universities. The iconic Tiffany & Company flagship store in New York City caught fire on Thursday. The newly renovated store was reopened in April after 4 years of overhaul. The fire department is still assessing the extent of damage caused by the flames. The Tiffany & Co. flagship store was first opened in New York in the early 1900s. The World Health Organization's Cancer Research Agency is reportedly set to declare artificial sweeteners as possible carcinogens. Carcinogens are substances that are prone to cause cancer. The study tested samples from diet sodas which are consumed popularly. However, the research did not specify how much artificial sweetener can be consumed before it turns carcinogenic. Smoke from the Canadian wildfires has blanketed the US capital, Washington, D.C. Air quality in Washington dropped to unhealthy levels on Thursday. Officials advised residents to stay indoors till Saturday. People were encouraged to wear masks if they needed to step outside. A prolonged heat wave is scorching the US's southern states of Texas and Arizona. Temperatures have crossed 38 degrees Celsius. Texas and Arizona are struggling to meet high electricity demand due to the heat. At least 62 million Americans are at risk of having no electricity. At least 112 people have lost their lives to extreme heat in Mexico. Temperatures in Mexico's northern regions crossed 45 degrees Celsius. The heat wave has been ongoing for 10 days. Mixed with humidity, the heat is causing dehydration and heat stroke. Severe floods have damaged the highway that links the South American countries of Chile and Argentina. At least 2,000 trucks and lorries are stranded at the border crossing. Landslides due to the floods have left the highway completely unusable. Authorities are saying it will take another week before the border crossings reopen. New Zealand has become the first country to ban single-use thin plastic bags from its supermarkets. These bags were used by customers to collect their fruits and vegetables. The plastic ban will also be extended to straws and silverware. Customers have already begun using paper and cloth bags. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg condemned the environmental impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. This was during her visit to Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Thunberg met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday. She called the Kakhovka Dam breach an act of environmental genocide or ecocide. Remember, the Kakhovka Dam was breached on the 6th of June. Russia and Ukraine blame each other for the dam's destruction. Volkswagen is in talks with Tesla to adopt its charging standard. The announcement follows a slew of automakers and charging equipment makers choosing Tesla's charging design. This is over concerns that companies may lose out on customers if they don't make the switch soon. Ford and General Motors are already among car makers that have signed up for Tesla's chargers. Meanwhile, Polestar has also signed an agreement with Tesla for access to its superchargers. This is for its vehicles in the US and Canada. Earlier this week, Volvo became the first European car maker to adopt Tesla's charging standard. Luxury car maker Audi has named Gernot Dorner as its chief executive officer. Dorner was previously the strategy chief at Audi's parent company, the Volkswagen Group. He will take over the new role in September this year. Reports say Germany's financial watchdog will not grant crypto exchange Binance a custody license. Without the license, the company is not allowed to advertise in the country, which limits its growth. This is the latest blow for the world's largest crypto firm. It's been facing setbacks in various countries, like in the US, where it faces a lawsuit for using deceptive business practices. Reports say Chinese online fashion retailer Shein has filed for an initial public offering in the US. Its stock market debut could come before the end of this year. This is despite Shein facing scrutiny from the US government over its labor practices. It's been accused of sourcing its material from China's Xinjiang region, where products are often the result of forced labor by the Uyghur population. Online retailer Overstock.com will rebrand itself as Bed Bath & Beyond. This is after it finalized a deal to purchase the bankrupt retailer's intellectual property assets. Overstock CEO said that the new name will help the company attract Bed Bath & Beyond's customer base. British billionaire Richard Branson's company Virgin Galactic has finally launched its first commercial rocket plane. 2 Italian Air Force officers and an aerospace engineer made the brief suborbital ride with 3 crew members. The flight marked a long-delayed breakthrough for the company since its launch in 2004. Apple and European Union antitrust regulators are having a closed-door hearing today. This is over a potential fine or an order against its app restrictions. The tech giant takes a cut of some subscriptions sold on its App Store. App developers have argued that this is unfair. The EU probe was sparked 3 years ago by music streaming rival Spotify. Google will block Canadian news on its platform in the country. The tech giant joins Facebook in escalating the campaign against Ottawa's Online News Act. Under the Act, companies need to compensate news publishers for using their content. The legislation was proposed after complaints from Canada's media industry. US lawmaker Michael Bennet has written to leading tech firms on issues regarding artificial intelligence. The letter was addressed to the CEOs of companies including ChatGPT maker OpenAI, Microsoft, Facebook's parent company Meta, and Google. Bennet has urged the firms to clearly label AI-generated content. He's also introduced a bill that would require political ads to disclose whether AI was used to create imagery or other content. Moving to sports, in cricket, Australia scored a total of 416 in their first innings of the second Ashes Test. Australia's Stephen Smith scored his 32nd century with 110 runs. England's Ben Duckett led his side to a significant fight back by scoring an unbeaten 98. England registered 278 for the loss of 4 wickets at the stumps on day 2 of the match at Lord's. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, or the BCCI, has decided to rethink the policies on retired players' participation in foreign T20 leagues. The current rule stands at any player's participation in overseas leagues only when they retire from all formats of cricket in India, including the IPL. However, the emergence of more foreign leagues, many players opt for early retirement. The BCCI is aiming to adopt stricter measures now. Players may have to adhere to a cooling-off period after retirement and before joining any foreign league. In football, England midfielder Mason Mount is set to join Manchester United in a $76 million deal. Mount will make the move from Chelsea and sign a 5-year contract with United. This is Manchester United's first signing of the transfer season. Mount had a deteriorating relationship with the Chelsea hierarchy for the past 12 months. Mount will hope to join United to rediscover his form after a difficult year. Croatian prosecutors have charged national team captain Luka Modric and former player Dejan Lovren. They were charged for giving false testimony in a major football-related corruption trial. Both players appeared in 2017 as witnesses during a high-profile corruption case. They appeared for Zdravko Memic, the former boss of Croatian club Dinamo Zagreb, who had leaked details of their transfers. Reportedly, the leaked news was worth millions. French club Paris Saint-Germain will begin their Ligue 1 title defense at home ground in Paris. They'll be facing Lorient Football Club on the 13th of August. The new season of Ligue 1 will begin on the 12th of August and have 34 match days. After their outing with Lorient, PSG will next face French Cup winners Toulouse. Their third match of Ligue 1 will be with last season's runners-up, Lens. In tennis, Coco Gauff defeated third-seeded Jessica Pegula to reach the semi-finals of the Eastbourne International. The 19-year-old beat Pegula 6-3, 6-3 in the All-American match. World number 5 Gauff is now the highest-ranked player remaining in the tournament. She will next play Madison Keys in the semis. This will be her third semi-final appearance of the year after Auckland and Dubai. Polish tennis player Kamil Majchrzak has been banned over doping for 13 months. The International Tennis Integrity Agency, or the ITIA, announced the ban on Thursday. Majchrzak had climbed to the 75th position in the world in February last year. He also tested positive for several banned substances in 2022. However, he denied having knowingly taken any banned substance. Former world number 1 in women's tennis, Caroline Wozniak is set to make a comeback. She had earlier announced her retirement prior to the 2020 Australian Open at the age of 29. She cited that she wanted to start a family with her husband, the former NBA player David Lee. Wozniak is now scheduled to first play at the Canadian Open in Montreal in August. In boxing, Indian player Sumit has advanced to the semi-final of the Elorda Cup. This year's edition of the Elorda Cup is being played in Kazakhstan. Sumit defeated Kazakh player Bizkat Tangatar in the 86 kg category at the quarterfinals. The Indian showcased his power and precision to win 5-0. He will now face Tokyo Olympic bronze medalist Saken Baybosinov in the semi-final on June 29th. In athletics, Janelle Hughes has smashed Linford Christie's 100-meter record among British sprinters. Hughes' record of 9.83 seconds at the New York City Grand Prix made him the fastest man on earth in 2023. The 27-year-old is now eyeing gold at the World Championship in Budapest this summer. Moving on to entertainment, a new detailed trailer of the film Dune 2 is out. The promo gives a first look into actor Christopher Walken's role as the Emperor. Actors Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya reprised their roles from the first film. Dune 2 will release on the 3rd of November. Season 4 of the superhero series The Boys has been delayed due to the Writers Guild of America strike. Showrunner Eric Kripke tweeted that the premiere depends on how long the WGA strike continues. He also said that the studios should make a fair deal. The Boys explores the possibility of superheroes going rogue and abusing their superpowers. It features an ensemble cast with actors Anthony Starr and Laz Alonso. Pop star Madonna is recovering at home after a health scare led to her hospitalization. Her celebrity friends have since sent her get well soon messages. The Weeknd wrote that he's sending his prayers. Meanwhile, Madonna's longtime friend, Debbie Mazar, shared an old photo of the two. Mazar wrote that Madonna is on the mend. BTS singer Jungkook has announced his new solo single. The song is titled 7. Jungkook will kick off several solo activities to promote the song. 7 is available for pre-order on music streaming platforms. It'll release along with his debut solo album on the 14th of July. The 4th in America Independence Day event by CNN has announced a star-studded lineup. Singers Shania Twain, Demi Lovato, rapper Post Malone, and rock band The Plain White T's will perform at the event. The United States Air Force Band will also deliver an ensemble performance. The broadcast will be accompanied by fireworks shows across the US. The iHeartRadio Music Festival has announced its lineup of performers. Singer Kelly Clarkson, rapper Lil Wayne, and rock band Foo Fighters are set to perform at the event. It'll also be the first time that the festival will be broadcast live on a streaming platform. The two-day event will take place on the 22nd and 23rd of September in Las Vegas. Singer Jon Batiste has announced his new album titled World Music Radio. The album features collaborations with singer Lana Del Rey, musician Kenny G, and the K-pop band New Jeans. Batiste also shared the album's first single titled Calling Your Name. World Music Radio will release on the 18th of August. Rapper Nicki Minaj has postponed the release of her fifth studio album titled Pink Friday 2. The album was originally set to release on the 20th of October. It will now launch on the 17th of November instead. Minaj said that there's some exciting news behind the delay, which she will soon reveal. Meanwhile, she also teased a 2024 tour date. In another incident of attacks on musicians during concerts, country music singer Kelsea Ballerini was hit in the face by an object. She was performing in the US when an item was thrown at her. Ballerini addressed the crowd and said that she cares about keeping everyone safe. Recently, singer BB Rexa was hit with a mobile phone during a show in New York. Soon after, a concert goer threw a bag of ashes at singer Pink during her London gig. Rapper Travis Scott will not face criminal charges in the Astroworld concert tragedy that left several dead. The incident took place at his show in Houston in 2021, where over 50,000 fans had gathered to watch him perform. A stampede led to the death of 10, while hundreds were injured. Despite this, Scott has still not been acquitted in civil lawsuits filed against him.